Welcome to Pour Over Marketing. Let's find out if my audio is working. So if anybody's watching, I'm going to need some comments. This is always a crapshoot. You test everything, you try it out, and here's what I found this week. Every time I did this, it was something different. So I see I have a follower already. Hey, can you hear me? That's the biggest question. And yes, hey Tanya, I'm so happy you're here. There is. Well, I should share it this way. Hold on. I got to see how to do it. I know that it's here. I'm going to share something on here, but I got to find where I do it. Invite, present. Here we go. And not that. I want to share my screen. That's right. This week we have a major announcement. So stay tuned. I'm going to close that. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay. So, Tanya, since you have me alone for a bit here, this is a great chance to ask some questions, something that you're not going to get crowded out on. Was there anything you wanted to talk about this week? I'm excited to talk about the major announcements. Probably going to eat up most of the show, but I don't want to reveal anything until we have a few more people here, because I know there's going to be questions. And let me see, as long as we're doing this, I'm going to make sure that things are sharing everywhere, which they're supposed to be. Let's see. Of course not. It's supposed to be sharing to my feed, which it's not, so I'm going to have to share that. Let's see. New Media Lab. And I will share to my feed. And I will share to... Oops. I'm going to have to go to other feeds to do this. Good morning, Serena. How are you today? Hey, you guys have me. It's quiet. It hasn't started up yet, really. So if you have questions, this is the time to ask. I'm going through and trying to share this to the various Facebook groups that are supposed to be getting it. One of them, most importantly, is, well, I don't want to say. But I will when it's time. Here we go. Share. Share now. Okay, I think that's good enough. It's not. I've got one more that I'd ask. And it is not geeking out. It is not any of this. It is this. And from here, so this is my first time trying to go around the bend here and get everything shared to all these various sites. It's a little bit tricky. Once again, I think I need to have a producer that helps me out with this stuff, but that's not in the cards as of yet. But what is in the cards is a major announcement. It's coming. It's coming, I promise you. I don't want to stop sharing, but I do want to go back to this. Okay, that works. Okay. Hi, Gordon. Good morning. Tanya wrote, I'm crazy busy this week because art show is next and another in end of May. Is there any way to pay someone to do my social media posts? Because I'm only getting posts of, look what I did today, getting ready for show on May 18th. Yes, actually, let me connect you. Actually, Tanya, you know who does this? Hold on. Hold your horses. We can't hold your horses. I can't remember the name that they went with. But Molly, who you know, actually does this as kind of a side gig for some authors. And she would be perfect for this if she has the time to do it. So after this, Tanya, I will connect you to Molly. Her rates are good. She does an awesome job. And Yeah, she'll work it out with you. So there's a suggestion. Good morning, Chinto. I'm glad you're here. So far, we have 4 people. I'm going to wait it out because I know Sarah and Chelsea had both said they were going to try to be on this one. I would hope that some others from, well, some various places because we have a major announcement. We'll see what happens. And so do we. Let's see. Tanya, if you need further help, you can drop me a line via LinkedIn. At the very least, I can be a backup for Molly. Excellent. Excellent. If Molly can't do it, Gordon is your guy. And Tanya, I don't know if you're friends with Gordon on Facebook or if you have connections to Gordon, but if not, just reach out to me. I'll connect you guys. Or you can click on his name here and it should, on Facebook, and it should give you the ability to message him. That would be absolutely awesome. Okay. Do I wait it out any longer or do I start talking about it? I think I should start talking about it. I don't like to bury the lead that much. Let's go through some of our slides that I did want to share first to kind of get us going. There we go. Thursday, I'm having another happy hour. So let's hide that. There we go. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. That might not be correct. I think I may have changed it. I think I may have made it an 8 o'clock. We'll have to look at the actual invite, but I am doing a happy hour. Uh, People really liked having it at night like that. Here's my take on this, though. I mean, it's great. It's great doing a Thursday night. Here's my take on it, though. I get people that write to me, uh, and people that want to do this, right? They want to be in on this and ask me questions and what have you. And then they complain that 8 o'clock Central Time is too early on a Saturday. And I have a take on this. This didn't start out as a traditional show. This was supposed to be me drinking coffee, having an AMA, and hopefully some people would come by and ask some questions, which Serena, you were there, I think, the first person in the gate. You know, that's exactly what it was. It's kind of evolving, or more than kind of. It is definitely evolving into something much more substantial. But I want to keep it the way it is. And my take on that idea of it's too early, I don't want to get up on Saturday morning and do this. My take is if you really want like some free advice and to have this community and be a part of this, you will find a way. It may not be every week, but you'll find a way to be here. I know that I've taken classes. I have a person that I follow who does an early morning thing, real early morning, like 5 in the morning, and I'm not always up. But if I am, I click into it. I want to watch it, and I don't complain that it's too early because that's the time that they're doing it. You know, you can always watch the video later. You can always go on Facebook and watch it, YouTube and watch it. Uh, yeah, as long as I'm saying YouTube, I should say YouTube. New Media Lab is on YouTube at New Media Lab Pod. So I have not been curating this yet. That is something over the next 2 weeks I am doing. I am taking New Media Lab, what's there now, changing it, putting the podcast so the videos and the audio versions are there. And each one of these is going to live there. So you will be able to go back and hopefully there'll be transcriptions so we can, chapter through and say, oh, this is when they were talking about this, or this is when this happened, hopefully. I make no guarantees. I'm going to do my best on that one. Gordon wrote, Tanya, if you need further help, you can drop me a line. Oh, I already said that. Gordon gets two ads. Okay. And Tanya said, move to the Eastern time zone. It's an hour later. Tell that to the people in California that watch. Chinto, I like Saturday morning. It's a good way to start the weekend. I agree. Plus, I fuel up. And today, I brought out the big boy for reasons. Saturday mornings work well for me. I like the low-key vibe. Yeah. Thursday night, I'm a little more on it. It's a little less low-key, but I don't go full professor mode. You guys should see me in a classroom, once I ramp up. Well, Danya, a lot of you guys have seen me in a panel, when I ramp up. Same thing in a classroom. Here, there's not gonna be ramping, as at least I don't think. So, let's do the other slides. No, let's not. You guys wanna get to the announcement? I do. Now here's the big question. Can I share it? And will this make sense? That's not what I wanted on there. Let me get another one. Stop sharing. Present. Full screen. Ooh. All right. Here we go. What does that mean? And why was that video so short without music? Well, a couple of reasons. One, I just put it together. Yeah, you're getting spoiled. No, the announcement, I like this. This week we have slides. I thought that was the announcement. I like Saturday morning, even with being up watching the Aurora last night, which we didn't get the memo. And by the time we did, we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't get out of bed. A video. We are getting spoiled. You are getting spoiled in more ways than one. So here's what's up, peeps. We made a decision. I'm actually going to go back a little bit because this all pertains to marketing. This is all part of it. So you guys know, most of you know, that I come from the world of podcasting. I was executive producer of 150 some shows. I know I skate the number all the time. It's because it's hard to count what exactly applies. This represents one of the biggest shows we ever did, which was Nuff Said. It was a Marvel podcast. So that's why I brought the big boy out. So about 2 years ago, a little less than that, we made everybody free agents. We had over 100 podcasters at that point. We had trimmed down. At one point, we had way more than that. I don't know what the number was. But at this point, we'd gotten down to maybe about 100. I think it might have been even 80 that were actively doing their thing. And when we started, we were newbies. And there's definitely a lesson in here for you guys. We jumped in, we walked off a cliff. I've told that story before. We jumped into this. We said, okay, we want to have, 5 shows within 3 years and have 3 other podcasters working with us. And 6 months later, we had 36 shows and almost 100 podcasters. Over time, it grew, and we never had 150 at once, but we did have probably 80 at one time, which is a hell of a lot. But when we started, we didn't know anything. It all started with Maeve and I sitting on the couch with an MP3 recorder going, we bought this because we knew we wanted a podcast, and we're watching Under the Dome, that Stephen King show. And we're watching the very first episode, and we're like, this is kind of a nuts show. We could really talk about this and have some fun. And we watched it, and we recorded a podcast. And then we went, crap, now what do we do? How do we get it on the computer? How do we tell people about it? I guess we put up a Facebook page. So I went and I sat at the computer, and I figured out how to get it on that night. She was insistent that it went on right then. I was like, okay, you're right. We can't let it sit. It's got to be timely. Let's go. Figured it out as best we could. Didn't even know how to edit it. I knew there was this program called Audacity, but I hadn't really played around with editing very much at that point. So like editing a whole show was very foreign. So we were newbies. But the lesson here is if you have a passion for something or you think, hey, I see that glimmer of magic, don't be afraid to go for it. Even if it fails gloriously. When we started that, I mean, that could have been, we could have done that thing and nobody cared about Under the Dome, which I ask you guys today, did you ever watch it? A lot of people are like, I don't even know what that is. Right. But at the time, that's the one we chose. So the other thing is we didn't know anything about social media. Now, this is going back 11 years almost at this point, and very close. I think July is going to be 11 years. In fact, right now is 11 years from when I started doing some podcasting and right when Maeve had done a little bit with me, but it wasn't for our network and we were trying things out. Every interaction I had, I would ask, how does Twitter work? How do I tell people about what I'm doing? Do I just put it on my Facebook page, which is what I did for a long time, and annoyed the hell out of people because when you have 36 shows and you're pumping that much out every day, it made everybody crazy. I mean, I was getting messages from my friends like, stop spamming us with this. It's like, where am I going to do this? But here's the deal. If they're that upset with the fact that I'm putting this on my feed and I haven't figured it out, are they really your friend? They're going to be there for you and be there with you when you go on this journey. And they were. I didn't lose any friends over it. So yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know how to use that social media. I like this. Back then, social media was Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Wasn't even Pinterest really. I mean, it was, but we didn't use it yet. It was Twitter and Facebook. And that was before I went back to school. And while I was in school it was right after that Instagram came on. And then I was in school and Snapchat started up and I wrote a whole paper on how you could use it successfully as a marketer. And my thesis basically came down to you can't. But I wrote a whole thing about how you could potentially. And the funny thing is, it is exactly the model that I saw Taco Bell use, which they're the only company I remember using Snapchat effectively for about 10 minutes. So I was right, but who cares? It was a terrible platform for that. Okay, so anyway, over time we got a lot better at it. I got an education. We all got an education in this. I learned. If you care to see all the books over there, don't look at my cleaning stuff I was working on. Those are all the books that built the house that became Southgate Media Group. And hi, Rachel. I see you're there. I forgot to say hi. So year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we made everybody free agents. We said our whole point with this was to help people learn how to do it, to be encouraging, to tell them the truth. Because when I was starting, so many people told me misinformation, whether they knew they were, which happens, or whether they just didn't know. So they spouted something that was completely wrong. And I swore with anyone that worked with us that we were going to be raw and honest, and where we had faults, we were going to like, hey, look here's a fault line. Anyone want to help us with this? Rachel, you were in our network for a hot minute. You saw how it worked, and that is what we believed and how we tried to handle it. I hope you experienced that in that brief window. We took her show on right before we closed things up, and when we took her on, we had no idea we were going to close it up. It was a decision where we really said we need to let everybody fly. We need to kick them out of the nest, let them fly, and we're going to take Southgate Media Group. And we've got these couple of shows we're doing. I'll still put Southgate Media Group on as the creator, but whatever. Well, since then, some interesting things have happened. Our YouTube channel A lot of the shows that still exist push their content to our YouTube channel still. They have their own, but they're like, hey, there's an audience here. Let's push it there. So, an example of this, the other day I was on with Erica and we were talking about a YouTube thing. And I clicked on our channel to give her an example. And I noticed I go in and update it. I basically go in and make sure that everything says not for kids. And I do it in a mass thing. And I noticed in about 30 days, there were over 100 new episodes. So to the people on the outside of it, it looks like Southgate Media Group is still pumping stuff out. On the inside, I didn't even know. Okay. And we've got well over 10,000 videos on there. Over the weekend, last weekend, and this idea of SMG 2.0 was immediate. As soon as we made the announcement, I had podcasters writing me going, okay, that's fine. When does 2.0 happen? And we were like, well, no, it's not. And they're like, okay, yeah, but when is it? They knew me better than I knew myself. And hold on. God, I had that coffee. Anyway, I kept toying with how would this look? And Maeve and I would have discussions every once in a while, and then go, nope, we're not doing this. And she was really against it because it used to take up a lot of time and it cost us a lot. We didn't have a model where we were making money because when we started, we knew nothing, right? So last weekend, we'll cut to that. I've been toying with this idea for a while, how it would look. It's very different. Last weekend, I got a couple of emails from people saying, hey, how do I submit for your network? I've checked out your YouTube. I've been on your various pages. How do I submit? And I didn't write them back and say, we're defunct. That's a weird choice for me. So I thought, why am I not writing them back? And then somebody said it to me, and I don't remember who, beginning of the week. And I said it to Maeve. I said, yeah, somebody said this, like, when are you guys coming back? It was one of our podcasters. And I went, I told her, truly kind of laughing, not fishing. It's not like, oh, they said this. Let's see what the water is. I said it like, oh, yeah, I got one of these again. And Maeve, who had been ready for us to pull the plug on this back then, said, is it time to bring it back? Do you need to do it now? And I went, what? And she said, I think you need to think about this. I think we need to talk about this. So I went out, mowed the lawn. Mowing the lawn is a great place to think. As I've talked about before, taking a walk, letting things go silent, blah, 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 and you get ideas. Mowing the lawn also does that. It used to be where I wrestled with demons when I didn't like this group of people. Every time I'd mow, those people would race through my mind so that I could put them out of my mind. I remember it was like an angry mow. Then when I no longer had to deal with them, it was more of a, oh, I'm getting ideas, unless I'm listening to a podcast. And the actual very first German idea to podcast came when I was snowblowing. So there's something about that, the noise, it shuts everything out and your brain kind of goes, and then there it was. So I'm mowing the lawn and I start thinking about it. And all of a sudden it's like getting very clear to me. And I'm like, uh-oh, is this something we're going to do? I'm not giving up any jobs that I have, which we all know I have 50 of. How does this look? And it got very clear to me again. So I wrote to Phil from Capes and Lunatics, and who was one of our shows that went off and started their own network. And I said, hey, Phil, I got to ask you a few questions. And the questions I asked were related to the things that caused the frustration that made us say, everybody needs to do their own thing. We need to get out of your way. And also the things that were making us frustrated with it. And you don't want to have bad feelings about the podcasters or about the fans or anything. And it's like, Yeah, it was time to take a break, right? And I asked him these questions, and he came back and he was making the same damn mistakes we did. Makes sense. He's kind of a protege. He basically built Southgate Media Group in a Batman bubble over at Capes and Lunatics. And I said to him, yeah, I want to say this one, Gordon. This is good. Walking lets me work out issues. It's also great for creativity. Absolutely. I will walk the one time I went for a walk, I came back. I was out for like 2.5 hours. I came back. Maeve tried to talk to me. I said, I can't talk. I got all these ideas. I sat down and I filled a notebook. Now, it wasn't like single line. It was like scroll, next page. Filled a notebook. Promptly lost it shortly afterwards. Still haven't found it. But a lot of the ideas that were in there were things that happened with Southgate Media Group. So it worked. I wish I found that notebook. So anyway, I told Phil, I said, I'm thinking about doing this. And he goes, oh my gosh, if you're doing this, you need to keep me in the loop. And then he said, Tyler, who does this Superman podcast that was on our network, is looking for a network. Here's the biggest reason this is going down. All the way through for the entirety of Southgate Media Group, I would ask a question of people on the outside and people on the inside. Why a network? Why do you want to be in a network, and what does it do for you? And I have friends that had other networks, big networks like ours was, and I would write to them. Nobody could ever really answer it. The answers they gave were complete BS. And I had a vision of what it should be, but I couldn't quite articulate it. I kept saying, no, there's and it was because I was in the middle of the fire, right? When you're in the fire, it's harder to have those life-changing shifts. And that's why the step back made a huge difference. I had to process this thing. It took me 1.5 years to process it, basically. And I reached out to Tyler and I said, hey, I hear you are looking to change networks. And I said to him, why do you want a network? And he couldn't quite articulate it. But what he could articulate was what was wrong with the network he was with. Interestingly enough, what I had to propose was basically solved a lot of those problems. It's a very different approach that's not going to work for everybody. I'm not just taking everybody under the sun. In fact, originally the logo said, instead of the next chapter, it said for serious podcasters only. And Molly is the one that pointed out that that was kind of aggressive and weird. So it changed. The reason I said that is I want people who take my artist friends that are in here. Take Chinto, take Serena. You guys take what to some might be a hobby, which is art, seriously. It is your profession, or you want it to be your full-time profession, or it's a vital piece to your puzzle, which is why you put in the effort to learn about marketing, or you put in the effort to get better at your craft. You don't put out something that you just slap together and whatever, and then you find ways to make people aware of it. These are things that a lot of podcasters don't do. A lot of people don't do it. They think they are, but they're really not. I know you guys take it very seriously. And we had podcasters. I mentioned Phil takes it very seriously. And I said to Tyler all the things. I explained exactly what we're doing. And in fact, after this, I'm going to be on the Third Best Southgate. It streams on the Capes and Lunatics page. I'm going to actually stream it to my Facebook page as well. That's my goofier show. But today they wanted to talk to me all about this and how it's going to work. So I will actually explain what we're doing on that show. Okay. But the bottom line is I told Tyler the whole thing. with this other network. He had 5 days to make a decision. I said, take your time. And he's the first one that signed on board for SMG 2.0. I have not made it public yet. This is the public announcement right here. I have not put it out to the Facebook groups and that I run, or to the podcast world in general. But I'm going to. We're about to do that. Now, keep in mind, the last time I did this, I told you we went from Maeve and I sitting on a couch to 6 months later having 36 podcasts. I can definitely envision that happening again, especially with the way that we're talking about doing this. Yes, Rachel, cross promotion is part of it. There are things like that that will be requirements in this. There's also some things that originally I thought were requirements, and I'm like, this doesn't work. And that's what took so long to figure out. What is something that you have to say, hardline, this is what you have to do? And what is it that it's like, look, these are the things we do. And I'm not going to sit here and hold your hand and babysit and monitor it. But if after 6 months I look back and I'm like, they didn't do any of this stuff, they're released with their show. Go off and do your thing. It's cool. It's just this is for people that want to have shows that turn into something, that build to success. And that's the real key is when I vet people, when I talk to Tyler, I ask him the question, what does success look like to you? That's what people have to answer to me. If it's just monetary, that's fine. If it's, success to me would be getting into Comic-Cons and doing panels. Okay. If success to you is taking a piece of the market share, so like you've got enough that you're almost an influencer in your bubble, and you can use that to leverage maybe selling T-shirts or selling your program. There's a podcaster that I interviewed who does she's a sex coach, and she has like a therapist, but she's a coach. Okay. And her show is all about that. It's real interesting. And she told me when I first met her, she said, I've had a sponsor since day one. And I said, you got to explain that to me. So I had her on my show and she explained it. And her explanation was, I feel like I got something on my mustache. That's not her explanation. Her explanation was, she's a sponsor. She said, I always have my ad up front. I'm always working my ad to make it better because I want people to know that I have a coaching business. And she told me that in the beginning it was slow, but she said, I don't do any marketing outside of my podcast because I am so busy with clients. And she said, I view it as my company sponsors the show, pays for the show. And its kickback is she picks up clients. One client more than pays for a year of the show. And she's got enough that she does it full time. And she has too many clients where she can't take any more. That's amazing. That's somebody serious about this. Plus with the shows, I want to make sure the shows are well thought out, that they have they're purpose driven. Purpose driven does not mean you can't say, hey, it's my friends and I, we sit around and we go goof about blank. Okay. But I need a little bit of structure around that and a little bit of vision around it. That's why we're doing this. I think we know, and I didn't even get into what the network does, but I think I solved the Rubik's Cube of why would you be in a network and how to make sure people are part of that community that we need to make a network work. So that so we had before I tried this. I tried a thing where everybody had to start sharing each other's stuff, and I put rules on it. And one of the guys immediately broke the rules every freaking time. And within a week of him breaking the rules, everyone that was in it was excited and playing the game the right way. And this one guy wasn't, and he wasn't being a jerk. He just thought, oh, I can keep doing this. And it made other people quit. made other people leave the group, or it made the group so it wasn't fun or effective. Well, now with this new structure, when we do things like that, it's thought out, there's a purpose, you play or you don't. You don't play, after 6 months, you're released with your show. All right. So there was the big announcement. Southgate Media Group 2.0 is happening. I don't know if it's a big deal to you guys, but around here, this is a big freaking deal. Oh, and by the way, you are watching the very first part of SMG 2.0. Pour Over Marketing is officially part of Southgate Media Group now. And what I'm going to do with this is a prototype of things to come. Don't expect it to be super polished. You've watched this show. That's not what this is about. So if you have an idea for one, if you have a podcast and you want to join, talk to me. That's the best way to do it. Talk to me. And if I say it's not going to work with us, don't get mad at me. Don't be offended. There is a definite course to this. I also don't close the door. I've got one person that already reached out that I was like, yeah, that's never going to work. But I didn't close the door. I said, what you're pitching is never going to work. Here are some things to maybe work on or change about the paradigm you're working within, and then we'll take you on. Rachel Friend are you aghast? Is that why there's no comment on there, Rachel? And Ginto, thank you. Yeah, this is awesome. It's going to be really awesome. And it's already, I'm seeing how it can take some time and some effort, but ultimately it's going to be really good for so many people in and around this thing. And before, when we started it, it was a podcast network, but we wisely called it Southgate Media Group so we could expand out. This time, we are expanding out from the word go. So a video show applies. We did not call it a podcast network. If somebody has a YouTube show and they want to be part of this, we just have to talk. If somebody has a exclusive Patreon show or really just about anything, we'll talk. Hey, Chelsea, I didn't know you were in here. This is cool. I'm excited for you guys, Chelsea. You'll get lots of interview opportunities. Trust me. And then Serena, I was thinking about doing videos for my Patreon where I interview people in the solar punk community along with talking about my solar punk sci-fi comics. So if you are throwing your head in the ring, Serena, when we finally go out and talk, let's talk about this. Totally. If you guys look at what's happened to Southgate Media Group after the fact, there's a real interesting evolution that's happened. And not everything is going to be like this. But when we shut everything down, basically what got shut down was all the pop culture centric stuff. Okay. I was known for all the nerd stuff I did. And what I found was I wasn't as fulfilled by it. I love that stuff, obviously. Look at my crap around me. But I needed to give back. And if you look at the shows I do now, I do TTRPG Insider, I do Alley Chats, I do Go Fund This. Those are the big ones. And then I have New Media Lab. Every one of them at the heart of it is, how do I help people? TTRPG Insider is there to let the people behind the scenes on TTRPGs have a voice. I talk to them, I interview them, I hear their stories, and then it promotes their game. That helps them. And it also gives them something really cool that is like a time capsule. I interviewed my dad at Live at the Blue Box years ago. We were supposed to have an interview. Somebody didn't show. I was like, Dad, get up here. I need to interview you. He said, no. I said, no, Dad, you were an avant-garde jazz musician. You are like an important part of Chicago music history, whether anybody knows it or not. He really is. He started the first avant-garde jazz group in Chicago. Said, "Come on up. I want to talk to you." So he finally gave in, and it was a great interview. He said so many stories, things that I didn't know. I'm like, Dad, I'm 45. I've never heard you utter any of these stories before. Maybe it was even 48, something like that. It was great. That interview is a gift. I now have that forever. Okay. This really cool moment in time. But the other thing is, my dad was a teacher, and I can't tell you how many of his students have found this podcast and have written in and said, "Is that the George Southgate that taught it? I would love to get in touch with him. He changed my life. I became a musician because of him." What I listened to is because when I was in junior high, he talked about, Tony Williams, and I'm still obsessed with Tony Williams, and I'm 50 now. That's what our network is for, is giving that gift. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be something as like we're doing GoFund this to promote your Kickstarter because that helps you. It can be all sorts of different things. Jesse Jackson does Set Listing Bruce, where he interviews people about their music choices. It started out as a Bruce Springsteen podcast. It very quickly evolved into, hey, we just talk about your love of music, centered around his love of Springsteen. And the show's been on forever now. It's done great. It even got him to the point where he got to meet Bruce Springsteen at something. I mean, that's crazy, right? His show is just that. The gift that it has given people is crazy. When I see comments from people and people that have been on, or I meet them and they're like, "Oh my God, I had such an emotional time on with Jesse. It was so much fun to talk about that." I mean, even Maeve and I got interviewed on this one where we talked about the music for each decade we've been alive. And oh my gosh, the crying from both of us. It was just amazing. Gordon, I need to work on my author Patreon strategy. I need to build paid patronage as well as organize a content calendar. You should do a free session with me, Gordon, just to talk about this. I'll give you all sorts of ideas. Guess what? I'm working with authors right now, too. So, Patreon for authors, something I think about quite a bit. Okay. So that's that. I've made the announcement. I can't get rid of the thing. I'm going to say stop sharing on that. Can't get rid of that slideshow I did because I'm going to be showing it on the next show, which is Capes and Lunatics on their Facebook page and then on my Facebook page and hopefully on the Third Best Southgate Facebook page starting at 9 o'clock. So it's going to be a hard stop today. I jump over there and I do the Third Best Southgate. Now there's an interesting show. Here's a show that fits my paradigm, and I'm still going to keep it on their network. I'm not doing it on mine, right? On their network, what I do is they wanted me, when they first had me come on, they wanted me to basically do This Week in Geek, which was one of our shows. And I went on, I did the first episode, and I didn't like it at all. I'm like, this is not This Week in Geek. I don't want to sit here and just talk about geek news and have you ask me, who do you like better, The Flash or Quicksilver? Who cares? Unless I'm playing Geektastic Cage Match, where everybody cares. I didn't need that. Now, I did love doing that show, but a little moved away. Chris died. And yeah. It lost its thing. And then when they wanted to kind of resurrect it under this other name, I was like, nope. So I changed the show immediately and said, let's do something different. This is a marketing thing too. I talk about this all the time. Don't be afraid to take risks, to try different things, see what works. If you make a mistake, nothing is or should be life and death. I mean, unless you come out like, I'm going to make my show about pro-Nazism. Okay, now that's going to be a problem. But if you go, I'm going to break the paradigm of what a talk show is, and I want to try this thing, and then if it doesn't work, I'm going to bail on it and try something else, do it. People have a short-term memory. They really do. Unless you've done something completely offensive or illegal, you can get away with things. Oh, look, I'm ramping up. I think the coffee's kicking in. So anyway, what I did on that show is I said, okay, on the next episode, we're going to change it completely. And they're like, okay. I said, no longer, I'm going to bring on a guest. And they went, oh, you're going to do an interview show. I said, no, they're going to interview me. So every guest I have on asks me questions. That's what the show is. They just ask me questions. I never have any idea what I'm going into other than today because they've already said we want to know all about SMG 2.0. It's like, okay. So don't be afraid to try things like that. It worked. It's fun. Let's see. Chelsea, you wrote. Yeah, I probably need to do a session with you about Patreon and perhaps a few other things. Chelsea, free session. Sign up with me. Then you get an unfiltered. We just kind of talk about this stuff. It's not a timeshare. If it turns out that my coaching or consulting is something that I feel would be beneficial to you, I'm going to say it, give you my rates, tell you what's up. But if I don't, I will also, if I think somebody else would be better, I'll send you elsewhere. If I think, yeah, you just need this article, it's going to change your life, I'll do that. I've recommended books. We did a half hour, and I'm like, get this book. Follow this person on Twitter, and they give you all the answers you need. Like, it's not about my coaching, even though it is a free session around my coaching. So yeah, Chelsea, yeah. My biggest success have been the riskiest things I've done, like a suicidal unicorn dealing with depression. So yeah, I second that. Take risks. And his unicorn book is fantastic. Who else is going to make a suicidal unicorn book that, I mean, we handed to a 5-year-old because it was so well done and so beautiful? Yeah, Chinto. So let's see. What else do I want to share with you guys? I could do some of my slides as long as we're talking about this stuff. Because yes, Ginto, you said you'd be disappointed if it turned out it was just slides. It's not, but I got slides. I'm still not doing them quite right. So you can join my newsletters, Pour Over Marketing and Mic Drop. They're both on Substack. Pour Over Marketing, I have not started posting yet, but I believe this week is when I'm finally going to release the hounds. And then Mic Drop, I did start posting a while ago. I've done sporadic things. This week I wrote 3 different posts that have not posted yet. I finished out the first series and I've started on the second of posts. So those are going to be very active newsletters very shortly. Once again, I do have a YouTube channel for New Media Lab, which will have this and only New Media Lab stuff. There is also a Southgate Media Group page, and as long as we were talking about it, Southgate Media Group is on all these different platforms. You either look up SMG Pods or Southgate Media Group, but they're there. If you type in Southgate Media Group, you're going to find them on all of them. And I try to post slightly different things across these, and we actually have strategies for each thing. Not so much these 3. These 3 are kind of one animal. This one is really interesting. I didn't put, we were on Tumblr at one point too. Tumblr was a funny one. I was doing these really cool things right in the beginning with Tumblr and started building it out, started getting some followers, and then Tumblr changed hands and they canceled my thing. I couldn't get back in. I was completely blocked forever with that. And I'm like, I didn't violate anything. A lot of people went through this. If you read back in the history of Tumblr, you'll find out that happened. The other day, over the weekend, I got a thing. Congratulations on 10 years with Tumblr. You're doing great. I can't get into it. I've been blocked on that one. Very funny. So I did not put Tumblr on here. Pinterest, we had started building out pages and we kind of stopped. But guess what? We're going to go back to that. Twitch, we have some really interesting plans for. Get ready. YouTube, we will have some interesting things happening. Right now, it's just shuffling and getting it all squared away. And then LinkedIn, I'll share my newsletter there. I'll share episodes. I'll share things there that are kind of exclusive to that. So there's that. So follow us everywhere. And let's see what this says. Please link to where I can look more into that book. Yeah, Chinto, give them a link where they can get your book. That would be something I would love if we could figure this out. How to build this community. Maybe we need to do a Facebook group at New Media Lab. I'm not sure. Let me think about how we do this. But someplace where you guys can share what you do. Gordon doing social media or writing. uh, Serena, art, Chelsea, writing, Chinto, art and writing, and like Tanya, leather, uh, where we could have like almost a marketplace where you can share what you do. So that way, if you're looking for somebody, like, hey, these are all people that I'm in this bubble with. Uh, that might be a really cool thing. So let me think about that. How we have maybe a marketplace group where you guys can interact, and if you need something, maybe get a pro tip. Uh, there we go. MrCalavera.com. That's where you can find Chinto's stuff. It's fantastic. Support the author, support the artist. Buy his stuff. Buy his stuff. Serena, you want to throw yours out while you're at it? All right. So let's see. We're at 8:51. Again, I am going to be going over to Capes and Lunatics, but you can watch it on, you might even be able to watch it on Southgate Media Group. I got to see what I can share, how fast I can share it. But for sure, it's on the Capes and Lunatics Facebook page, and it's supposed to be on the third best Southgate Facebook page, and my personal one, and hopefully on Southgate Media Group. So lots of places you can watch it and interact with me, ask questions. If it devolves into what did you think about Superman's new suit, I'm happy to talk about that too. It doesn't fit very well. I think he'd be uncomfortable. Okay. I want to add that to stage. You can email me at rob@smgpods.com. That'll go right to me. I've got a million different email addresses, but everything actually kind of funnels back to that. So go ahead and write me there if you have questions. If you, or you can always message me through Facebook or through any of the other platforms that I did discuss. These all have a place you can write me. Okay. And I think that's going to be it. We got about 3 more minutes before I have to bail. I know we talked about one specific thing today. I hope you guys got some lessons in there. I hope you guys got some ideas out of that. I mean, the announcement was the big thing, but I hope that watching the journey, hearing about how we got there, what we're thinking about, and believe me, you guys are going to get a lot of information out of this, because as we go forward, and I'm trying different marketing things and trying different formats and ways of reaching out, I will be sharing that all on here. It won't only be about that, obviously. Obviously, that is not what this show is about, but there are going to be things that are going to come up, and I'll be sharing that stuff with you guys, whether it's how we orchestrate a live event, how we run a Twitch thing, how we do our newsletters, any of that kind of stuff. What's going on with this experiment? Because if this experiment works, this why be in a network, it can expand out into just about anything, from an artist alley standpoint to a podcaster standpoint to a we're just writers working together, but it takes it to another level. Hopefully that's our intention, right? Maeve and I have talked about this quite a bit. Molly has been instrumental. uh, it used to be that I was the face of the network and Maeve was helping behind the scenes, and then Molly was a kid but she was helping. Well, this version, SMG 2.0, there are 3 people equally in charge. I give Molly as much power as Maeve and I in this, to say, let's try this, let's do this. This is wrong. Try this. Let's experiment. Um, yeah, equal voices. The other thing is, and I should say this too, uh, we had a tenant when we started that we wanted to have, one of the pillars, I should say, of our businesses. We said we wanted to have 50% women, and at that time there were not a lot of women podcasters. It's the reason eventually we did the Women in Podcasting Festival, which is something that we still have. We just haven't done it in a while. Uh, this time we're putting a new face on it. Yeah, we want 50% women. We also are trying to look at what the demographics are in our world, and we want our network to reflect that. So it's not going to be a bunch of 55, I think I am, year old white dudes. We want it to be a diverse group of people because everybody has a voice and everybody has ideas, and we don't have to put people in a box or call it something that other than just podcaster, blogger, video person. I mean, so that's something that we're going to be doing. Uh, okay, everybody. That's it. I got to go over to that other show. It's official. This is brought to you by Southgate Media Group. Thanks for watching, everybody. Wait. One more thing. Rachel loved the festival. And Serena said it's exciting. And Tanya said, thoughts of a subgroup to be networking for not only podcasters. Yep, I'll work on it. All right, back to this. Brought to you by Southgate Media Group. For the first time in a couple years, I can say that, and it is very much full-blooded going on. All right, everybody, see me over at Capes and Lunatics. Party's not over. Still a lot of coffee to be drunk. Thanks again, everybody.